welcome back to another Top 5 Upcoming RPGs video. Last month we enjoyed the return of the classic RPG Diablo 2 Resurrected, which got a remaster getting a number of additions, including multiplayer. There were a number of new RPGs released, making it quite the busy month. This month we have more to look forward to, with a new MMO launching, revamped games that are getting quite a lot of new content, as well as a new card-based adventure. This month has quite the mix of fantasy titles, all set in their own unique universes from sci-fi to dark fantasy. Without further ado, let's get into the month of October 2021. Honorable mention: Phoenix Point Behemoth Edition and Corrupted Horizons expansion. Phoenix Point, the successor to the XCOM franchise, gets our honorable mention this month as it will be coming to new platforms PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The Phoenix Point Behemoth Edition not only will be coming to these consoles but also includes bonus content, a sizable expansion, previously released DLCs and an updated UI plus controls, and a free next-gen upgrade at a later date. Phoenix Point follows a futuristic vision of Earth, now caught up in an alien invasion with the release of an alien virus now inflicted called the Pandora virus. Assuming the command of the Phoenix Project, players will attempt to save humanity with turn-based strategy battles and base management. PC players will also have the fourth DLC expansion called Corrupted Horizons to look forward to, as it releases on the same day, October 1st, for all platforms. In this latest edition, a new deadly strain of the Pandora virus is now running rampant. Face new enemies, use a new soldier type, and play new campaign missions. Phoenix Point Behemoth Edition releases on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on October 1st, alongside the expansion Corrupted Horizons releasing also on PC. At number 5, Voice of Cards: The Isle of Dragon Roars. Get ready for a tabletop type of adventure from the creative director of Nier and the Drakengard series, Yoko Taro, in Voice of Cards: The Isle of Dragon Roars. In a card-based RPG which is completely made up of cards, from its battles to moving across the card-based world set in mystery, monsters, and dragons, showing the path you've travelled. The gameplay uses turn-based field and dungeon battles using cards to inflict damage through skills and dice rolls. The main character, played by you, is accompanied by Mar, a very attached monster, and Melanie, a black witch. Every part of the tale is told through cards, including the stories, battles, characters you meet, and it is all beautifully illustrated. While the game isn't part of the Drakengard or Nier series, there will be a DLC which has a crossover with Nier, adding some Nier replicant designs such as costumes and card backs. Voice of Cards: The Isle of Dragon Roars releases on October 28 for PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. You can also check out the demo now to preview the game. At number 4, Elyon. Elyon, the MMORPG, will be fully launching this month on PC. The now free-to-play title is a sci-fi based game set in a warring world between two sovereign realms of Hearth called Vulpin and Ontari, who are vying to take control of Elyon, a portal that will ultimately lead to paradise. There are also invading enemies called Dark Apostles, which come from another dimension. What their objective is unknown. Elyon sets to feature massive realm wars which factions can fight it out with Malamek's artillery and soldiers in realm versus realm wars. Players can customize their character with a number of skill add-ons, runestones, and through Mana Awakening. This will give a number of ways to create your own combat style. There are also dungeons, which means you can join friends in tackling bosses with some mechanics in multiple phases. If you fancy taking on the challenge solo, try the floor-based dungeons. Players can pick from different classes, from mystics who can heal their allies through the power of nature but also deal damage to their foes, to gunners who use guns to shoot enemies from a distance and land decisive blows. As it is a fantasy style game, you can pick from different races which include human, elf, orc, and Ain, deceptively cute fluffy creatures who are apparently the best engineers in the world. Elyon will be releasing on PC on October 20th. At number 3, Disciples Liberation. Disciples Liberation is a dark fantasy world turn-based combat RPG where players will undertake hundreds of unique quests and foster relationships with an assortment of in-world factions. Players can build an army and trade resources to upgrade their home base. You will also take up the role of liberating the land of Navanda and uncover a number of hidden tales within the detailed world, full of consequences. The game promises 80 plus hours of single-player campaign experience, a war-torn fantasy world to explore, a possibility to weave your own story, build a base, challenge deadly bosses, and more. You can recruit over 50 units and create an army that follows your type of playstyle, which includes both magic and straight-up brawn and steel. Face some pretty horrific monsters and beasts, where your choices will deal your fate. If fighting monsters isn't enough for you, can even fight your friends in online 2-player skirmishes. Disciples Liberation will release on October 21st on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. At number 2, Darkest Dungeon 2. Darkest Dungeon 2 is making its way to early access via the Epic Games Store this month. The sequel to the highly acclaimed cosmic horror RPG of the same name will gain new monsters, bosses, as well as challenges. The combat system from the sequel has had quite the significant tune-up mechanically, but will remain consistent with the first title. Players will meet their flawed heroes who will all have their quirks and stresses which will affect how they play, including some maddening surprises. In a party of 4 heroes, you'll be pitted against roguelike 5-hour runs, which includes ominous mountains. These shorter runs will be designed to be a little less intimidating than the first, which had longer 40+ hour campaigns. Your characters can also still die in the sequel, so be wary your party could end up being a duo if you're not too careful. You will also need to keep an eye on how members of your party play off each other with such quirks as Clumsy and Kleptomaniac. While there are some changes, Darkest Dungeon 2 will still retain the combat that players love in the first, but it's all now in a 3D art style. Expect to see some familiar faces making their return in the sequel, and one new character, the Runaway, in early access who embraces fire and new damage over time component. Darkest Dungeon 2 joins early access on the Epic Games Store on October 26. At number 1, Death's Gambit Afterlife. Taking our top spot this month goes to Death's Gambit Afterlife, an expanded edition of the original game, but is now double the size in terms of content. While it does release on September 30th, it's counted in our list this month as it's on the eve of October. As previously mentioned, Afterlife brings a sizable update to the original game, coming free to those who already own the game, including new bosses and new levels. There is also a number of changes in terms of systems, including a revamped talent tree. The game features 6 new bosses, 10 new levels, 22 new weapons, 100 talents, skills, storylines, cinematics, gameplay enhancements, and much more. There is also a full new map that was not in the original game, making exploration much more in-depth. There are also multiple endings, crafting, and new music tracks to enjoy as you're exploring new areas of Afterlife and are featured in new boss fights. You can also enjoy hybrid builds with the updated talent system resulting in about 100 talents. The original had 20. Other additions to enjoy include new mechanics such as double jump, air dash, and even perfect blocking inspired by Sekiro. Death's Gambit Afterlife will release on September 30th for PC and Switch. It will also be available as a free upgrade for those who already own the game. That's a wrap for the top RPGs of October. Did I miss your favourite October release? What games are you looking most forward to for the rest of the year? Let us know in the comments below.